enough is enough. Starting Monday, for the next 2 weeks, I will not be trading my live challenge account. Instead, I'll be going through a pretty rigorous process of studying and learning how to implement my new ICT strategy. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Modern Day Trader channel and welcome to episode 11 of my weekly reviews. As I've just mentioned, from Monday, I won't be taking any live trades for the next 2 weeks to give myself time to, one, study, and two, learn how to, with conviction, implement my new ICT strategy. As you guys know from the previous review, from the previous sort of live analyses, from our bi-weekly podcasts, I'm currently going through a process of learning a lot of new ICT concepts, and an ICT in-depth, I'd say, ICT strategy. The strategy I currently trade was more an adaptation of the core ICT strategy, and as I kind of stated the intention of looking to just dive deeper into my strategy this quarter, it only makes sense to, and I've just gravitated towards, ICT strategy itself. So in, wanting to do that, it's caused a lot of friction in terms of how I view the market, how I execute, because a lot of it, while it's not completely new, it's there are things that are new. There's things that I haven't been able to put, terms to, or haven't been able to describe, that I'm now able to. And even though I can describe certain things that I see in a lot more detail, consistently implementing them in a structured approach has been quite difficult because, again, it's all new. It's not going to come at me all at once. But I think as a result, my results have definitely suffered. My current sort of streak of or sequence of results, I don't feel is very reflective of my ability as a trader. I think my ability of my plan. I think it's really been a result of not being too sure in terms of what I'm looking at, from high time frame right down into the way I execute. So while I don't expect a 180 turnaround in this next 2 weeks, I at least expect or I at least aim to really drill down what the concepts are, why they're relevant, and how I go about piecing the puzzle together, form a plan that I can consistently test, because that is the first step. But the way I test now is forward trading and actively testing that. But more on that in a bit. Let's look at how we did in the week. This week, one trade taken, one win. It was a EurUsd long on Thursday, New York session. The trade was about a 1:5, but closed out with 2.17 R. On a half risk, it's about 1.05, 1.1%. So yeah, that's quite clean. It's brought the month to date return to 1.31, just about, math is failing, about 0.6, I think, or 0.7, 1.31, yeah, 0.65, 0.65, and yeah, look, not a busy week. I won't take you through the trade on my trading view, because I think there's enough of it here, and there's one particular thing I really wanted to show you guys. This was a pretty clean trade, just in terms of how price had been forming the whole week. If you were on the live, you would have seen that I was looking for this long, for all the reasons I listed. From a high time frame perspective, we were looking for, and this at least from a daily, we're seeing that rejection from those levels for price to come lower. But the 4 hour wasn't convincing yet. We hadn't broken structure, and we were correcting as if we were going to continue higher. I did see price continuing higher, but to those sort of double top levels, or that daily high value area, where I then saw the real move to the downside come in. So going into Thursday, post that live, I was looking for price to come a bit lower. and then to give me confirmation that we're going to head higher. Got that confirmation in the form of a 30-minute POI. We shifted structures to the upside, and then got a very impulsive mitigation of this POI here. Once we got into the POI, I was looking for a combination of micro time frame, 15-minute as micro time frame, but I was ideally looking to take this as an unrefined entry because I did want that confirmation. But I was also looking for the micro time frame, so your 1 minute, 3 minute, to also shift. In this case, we got a 1 minute shift, and then we got two downside wicks on this 15-minute. And I think it was similar sort of candlestick formation on the 30-minute, and then executed that manually, market execution. And then this kind of just tumbled. And I remember going to bed that night thinking that, you've got this one wrong, bro. You just got this one wrong, and going to hit your stop. And it's going to be another week where you take an L. And it was in that moment that I decided that, no, I actually need to take some time off, because I don't know if you recall in the live, there was a potential for this to head lower, given how dollar index was shaping up, given how US 30 was shaping up, and I was heavily convicted that this was heading higher. Look, it did eventually head higher, but there was a moment where I didn't think it would, and I think in that moment, it really almost made me realize that, I need to spend some time with the strategy to figure it out, because the current sequence of results just isn't it. Fortunately, in this case, by a pip, I was kept into the position, and then managed it normally. I think when I saw it come back to my entry, I thought about just closing for break even, or adjusting my stop loss to half risk. But I was just like, let me just manage it as per my plan, which is normally only 1%. And then I moved to break even, which I did. And then I just managed it on the minute 15 as we formed higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, moving it below those most recent or fresh high lows. And so this still, I think, has a bit of potential to the upside, to those 4-hour highs. Managed to close this out at 2.17 R. So a good week in the office, but I think that doesn't change sort of that thought or that feeling that I had, that I need to spend some time to figure out or to just understand this new strategy that I'm trading, understand how to implement it, because it feels like I don't at the moment. So as you guys can see, same 10K account, started on the 10th of November. This is the only trade I took this week, 24th of May. That was Thursday. Currently, equities sitting at $9,519.61. Start to date drawdown is at negative 4.8%. So look, we've started to claw back a bit from that maximum drawdown of minus 6.23%. But still got some way to go. And I think just looking forward to this break a bit, just to figure out and realign myself in terms of how my plan's going to look going forward. And I think a big reason why I'm also looking at taking this time off is because of the 100K challenge that we mentioned in our recent podcast. If you haven't listened to that, listen to it. The podcast around transferring success from one area into your life into every area. And at the end of that, we stumble across, this 100K challenge. We're releasing our next bi-weekly podcast this coming Friday. And that really dives into how we're looking at preparing for the 100K challenge. I go into a lot more detail on why I'm taking this 2 weeks, and what the plan is to what I'll be focusing on in this 2 weeks. But I think because that's only going to be released on Friday, I'll just giving you a bit of an idea now. But I think for next week's review, obviously each week we're supposed to review the trade that we take, but Next week, I think it's going to be a bit different. I'll almost give you a bit of a review on what I've kind of learned for that week. So that kind of gives you guys an insight into how my strategy is developing, but then also puts me in a position where I can explain that to you guys, and that helps me understand it a bit better. So yeah, if you're not too sure around where I'm starting on ICT and how I'm looking at implementing it and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis in terms of that implementation, then yeah, stay tuned for next week's review. I'm going to go in detail in terms of how the week's gone, how my processes have shifted, because that's important. Because if you refer back to my Q2 planning video, I laid out 6 processes or pillars of consistency, and those are the different areas that I said I'm going to focus on doing, these specific things in these areas, and that's going to lead me to consistency. Some of those have changed quite a bit, and that's, I think, just natural in terms of how things have progressed. But I think it's just always good to touch base with that plan, update it, because things do change, and it's just more about just being conscious of, mapping out that change and understanding, is it changing for the better or is it changing because of, some other reason. So yeah, stay tuned for that video on Friday. That's going to drop. I think that's probably to date our best conversation that we've had, and we're just saying with Marcy that, look, these conversations literally get better every time we have them. So excited for you guys to see that. And then excited to release the review next week, where I'll just sort of give you guys a recap of what's been going on in the week. And I wouldn't have taken any trades, but a lot, I think, would have transpired in my strategy development. And then the following week after that, it's going to look a bit different. I'm not too sure right now how I'm going to present that review, but I think it's definitely going to be a bit more focused on the implementation of the strategy instead of the actual concepts themselves, because I'll probably paper trade that in live market conditions for a week just to see how the strategy is responding. And I'll give you guys a brief on how that's going. So that's the next 2 weeks, and then there's obviously so much more after that, and that's we'll explain obviously as things go on. But exciting times ahead, and I thought I would just touch base on how we're doing on the charts, because look, as much as I won't be taking live trades, some of you will still be trading in the coming week. So this is just to give you guys an idea of how I'd be looking to position myself if I was active in the charts. This is going to be a very high time frame sort of breakdown. Not going to go too much into entries and how I'm looking to take certain pairs, because obviously market hasn't developed for that, but just more so how I anticipate pairs playing out for the week. Dollar index had this manipulation low last week, looking for the distribution higher. Didn't quite get it, but we are rejecting this area at the moment very correctively. So I think there is still the chance that we're going to come down to these lows before we start pushing higher. First target here, which are actually our 6-hour or 4-hour POI levels, and then after that, way up here. We may not get the push down before we start pushing higher, so be mindful of that. It could just go, and that I think is primarily because we're kind of starting to trend a bit higher already from here. No, man, why did I take this out? It's weekly watch list. Okay. And so, be mindful that this may just come. This may just come straight up into this POI, and then either push higher from here or come lower. But I think ultimately we will push higher. It just depends on what the market wants to do first. But it's just that corrective price action on the daily that's giving me an idea, or giving me a feeling that we may head low before we come higher. GJ, look, I think we're just gravitating towards these highs to complete, firstly, the 4-hour structure that was mitigated at this point, completed these equal highs, and then come lower. This price action has been very corrective on the way up relative to how aggressively we kind of impulse lower. And yeah, I don't look unless we break and stay above there. I'd say once we do get to these highs, and you could probably look to take longs just up into these highs, those would probably be good setups. But once we get there, give the market some time. Let it show you that it's either still pushing higher or it wants to come lower. So that is pound. 4 hour, there's literally not much. It's just kind of trickling higher very correctively. So look for those low time frame entries. I don't think you're going to get very serious pullbacks on this. You'll find your 30 minutes, 1 hour, 15-minute entries are probably going to be the ones that are likely to give you the best setups on GJ. US 30. This has played out quite nicely. Admittedly, got this wrong just based on the weekly live analysis and looking for this to come higher before it does come lower. But as you can see, we're kind of just pressing lower from these highs here. Something that does confuse me or concern me a bit is just how this is playing out sequentially from a time perspective, in terms of obviously the cycle that we were getting for the month, how this is continued higher. Then we got a bit of accumulation as we started coming up into these highs, and then normally after that, accumulation, we get a manipulation either higher or lower, and we've come lower very aggressively. So look, the distribution higher could just be a distribution higher to this double top area, or what I'm concerned with is that this may be a distribution higher to run, these highs here. And the fact that we have NFP, not this coming week, but the week after is, enough. There's enough volume out of that news announcement that could break those levels. So just be mindful of the US 30. It looks very bearish at the moment. And look, I'd continue to look for positions to the downside until it at least breaks this level. So if we do come all the way back up here, and you're looking to short from this area, I think that's a beautiful area to look for a short out of. Play that to the downside. But if we start to break higher from here, this thing's going higher. Whether, again, then that's just to this double top or a bit higher than that remains to be seen. But yeah, that's what I'll be looking at for US 30. But from a structural perspective, this thing has just been very clean on the 4 hour. Hence a bit frustrated that kind of called it wrong this week. USDs are probably been one of the cleanest in terms of kind of time and price aligning quite nicely. Just looking at where we are on the daily at these high value areas, we were expecting a push higher, dropping down to the 4 hour. You guys can see, and I think maybe just bring you back to the daily. What we were looking for this week was that distribution higher. Like I said, we got the manipulation lower last week, and then we were expecting that distribution higher, and we did get that distribution higher. So hence I'm just saying time and price is lining up quite nicely on this pair. Just didn't get an entry, and I think that's just because I don't think there wasn't an entry. It's just, had I probably been a bit more informed around the different types of structural shifts and entry models in this new sort of strategy I'm trying to implement, I probably would have caught something, because I did see a few opportunities from that perspective, but I'm obviously not very aggressive on taking entries in that way just yet. And so, strong move that I kind of just missed, but I do see this USD is quite good at correcting into 4 hour levels and then continuing to the upside. So that's how I would be looking to play this if I was active. And then EurUsd, that's what I'll be looking at. I think that's why I was kind of just seeing this come a bit higher, because of the way we've kind of been slowly correcting lower. The fact that structure is still bullish, we got into a discounted area based on this push to the upside. And then we started getting, the shift here and then started pushing to the upside. But just looking at how this is slowly corrected, I'm anticipating this to come higher, at least these double tops, and then for the strong distribution to come lower. But again, this could just rocket to the upside, to be honest. The way this 4 hours is sort of playing out at the moment, just, yeah, there's a lot. I don't know, it's more the pattern recognition. I think part of me that's seeing that, but this is looking like it's gearing to go a lot higher, and could be higher for temporary moment before we then sell off. But I think short term, looking to take this higher, and so that's how I'm looking to take, how I would be looking to take pairs this week. I think we will obviously touch base in the live on Wednesday, and I'll just give an update of how some of those pairs have developed. But yeah, looking forward to this next 2 weeks, looking forward to how things may change a bit in my strategy and my approach. I think it's just all part of the growth, all part of the build up to our 100K challenges. And that is this week's review. Again, if you haven't checked out the bi-weekly podcast, this past bi-weekly podcast, check it out, how to transfer, or how to transfer success from one area of your life into every area of your life or into other areas of your life. That was a really good discussion. But stay tuned and keep an eye out for our next bi-weekly review, which is dropping this coming Friday, the 31st of May. That will be detailing the 100K challenge. I think that's an episode you guys don't want to miss. A lot of value in that. And yeah, until then, remember guys, consistency is a choice you make when you start doing the things you know you should be doing day in and day out. See you guys soon.